So this weekend we went to dinner with some friends. We went to a housewarming party at which the host was already blackout drunk before we got there. Has no memory of us being there. I met a flat earther, and now I have an answer to the question, what would I do if I ever met a flat earther in person? And we went to the Curiosities and Oddities Expo at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. We're going to talk about my weekend.
In the beginning, the universe was created. This has made a lot of people very angry and been widely regarded as a bad move.
That's Paul Schultz. I'm Steve Vincent. This is the Don't Panic Radio Show. So sit back, relax, and ignore the news because nothing you are about to hear is true. All right. So we go to dinner and then we go to this at about 10:30. We got there at about 10:30, right?
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's there partying. The host, whose home it was, single woman living by herself, right? Has 2 dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Dogs were awesome. Got to pet the dogs. But she was out of her mind, drunk, right? Could barely string together enough words to make a sentence.
Uh-huh.
Almost fell off her own porch like 3 times.
Yeah.
And finally went and passed out.
She was probably, if it was her house, she's probably stress drinking, setting up for the party, and started at like 3:00 in the afternoon.
So we talked about it on the way home because this person is known to imbibe heavily, right, from time to time. Not like show up to work drunk and like not show up to work at all because they were drunk and all this, but like anytime there's a social occasion, she probably pre-games and then ends up, pretty wasted. And I said, sounds like social anxiety drinking to me. So to your point, she's probably stressing about the party, or she's like excited about the party or whatever. And it's like, I'm going to start drinking now. And by the time 10:30 rolls around, she's 3 a.m. drunk, right? She's either 3 a.m. drunk or she's day drinking drunk by 10:30.
Personally, I'm impressed you were up at 10:30 going somewhere. That's like bedtime.
That is good. That is good observation, because when this was first proposed, it was like a week ago. I'd forgotten about it, but it was like a week ago. It was like, we're going to go to dinner with these friends. And then after that, we're going to go to this other friend's. I was like, after that, you're going to go to the other friend's housewarming party. I'm going home. You can bring an Uber home, right? But then Saturday, I was like, I don't know. I'll drop you off there. Like, I'll take you there and I'll make an appearance. And then if it's like, if I'm really tired, then I'll go home. Well, what ended up happening was once I got there, and the humor of the host, like stumbling around all over the place. And then the other friends, everybody's just laughing. And her neighbors were there and they turned out to be really interesting and fun to talk to. So I was like, I'll stick around. Got home at midnight, right? But yeah, it was impressive. It's usually not something I do or even want to do.
I might stick around a little while. Yeah.
But we're talking about
if
the
it's
eclipse.
entertaining, I can stay awake,
Yeah, exactly. So the neighbors, it absolutely doesn't matter at all that they're black, but I want to say it anyway, because, you and I love that culture, right? Not in an appropriating sort of way, but just like, I can stand and talk to a black dude for a long time and laugh my ass off and like not even know who they are. Like, them for 5 minutes and you're already just laughing your ass off, right?
Yeah.
And his wife was delightful, just good conversationalist. Like, how sometimes when you're talking to somebody you just met, you hear their entire life story. They don't ask you one question. She wasn't like that. She'd be like, well, we love this neighborhood. Where are you guys from? And she's like, from Chicago. And she's like, I moved here from Chicago. And how long have you guys lived here? We're like, well, we moved here from Chicago. Oh yeah, what part? So, like a conversation as opposed to a monologue. And we're just having a good time, right? And then we're talking about the eclipse. And of course, Like, did you guys see the eclipse? And everybody's like, oh my God, yes. And everybody was just so, like anybody you talk to who saw totality for sure. It was, and the dude's just like, it did something to me. He's like, I think I'm different, now. And it's just like, yeah, man, I get it. I get it. And he goes, the only thing I don't understand, he's like, I saw on TikTok, somebody's doing a TikTok live, like a couple hours before the eclipse, and they're showing the full eclipse, and they're going, wow, we have the full eclipse. And he's like, but I look up and there's no eclipse. He's like, it's the same moon. It's the same sun. How come they are getting the eclipse and we're not? And then a couple hours later, now we have the eclipse. So I was like, oh, well, think of it like a shadow. Think of it like, here's the earth, and then there's the sun over there, and the moon is moving, around the earth.
Yeah.
And the shadow kind of goes. And I was like demonstrating with my hands to the moon, and you can see the shadow moving across the table. And almost everybody's like, oh, wow, I didn't think about it like that. And everybody's like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. And he goes, no, can't get my head around that. I was like, well, why not? He's like, well, do you guys think the earth is round or flat? I thought he was joking. Everybody thought he was joking. Everybody starts laughing, right? Even his wife looks at him and goes, what? It's round. What are you talking about? He goes, no, I've been seeing some YouTubes, and it is flat.
Lord.
And he's like, and he goes, why else would they be spending millions of dollars on rockets to shoot them up in the air like that? I was like, satellites, going to the moon, that kind of. No, it's to crack the firmament. But they can't do it. They can't crack the firmament. They tried. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, why? Why would they want to crack the firmament? So they can talk to God. And I'm sitting there like, here's a guy that we've had just a lot of fun all evening, right? Normal person, just cracking jokes, laughing, having fun. And then suddenly he goes off into flat earth territory. And the answer to the question of what would I do in real life if I ever met a flat earther? The answer is I keep my damn mouth shut. That's the answer. Because I am not equipped, authorized, or prepared to try to have that conversation at 11:30 at night.
I have never personally that has admitted to it met a flat earther who would say something like that with their whole chest. Like, I don't know if, like, you see, you are really good at playing devil's advocate, and we've had enough social engagements with people that I can tell when, like, Steve's got a line of bullshit going because he just wants to debate the other person.
Yeah.
So I can kind of tell when you're bullshitting and when you're not.
Yeah.
But if you don't know the person well enough, you gotta be like, get out of here. No, look, I have YouTube videos. Well, that's where this conversation is going.
Yeah.
I have this thing called science. Let me show you on a globe.
Oh, he went into that too. He's like, I remember when I was 8 years old, the teacher got a basketball out and said, think of Earth like this. Earth is like a ball, like this basketball. And he's like, wait a minute. If we're standing on top and somebody else is standing on the side, like what are they standing sideways? And I'm like, I'm not going to ruin this evening by getting into it with this guy, right?
One of the best parts about having a conversation with Black people, though, is almost never in the entire line of conversation will that person go, you know what the problem with Black people is? Just out of the blue.
Oh.
You could be having a conversation with a white guy for hours, and then he could, like, slavery was a myth. All right, well, I guess this conversation's over.
7 time.
So then we went to the Oddities and Curiosities Expo, which it is about what you might think it is. It's a bunch of tables with weird stuff.
Yeah.
All the
oddities and curiosities.
Bunch of people, weird people.
Sundries.
Weird people, some of them with their parents, some of the weird parents with their kids.
Yeah.
We went to my first ever Oddities and Curiosities thing back in the early spring, but it was a local event, In fact, they had it at the Marine Corps equivalent of the American Legion. I don't know what those are called, but imagine an American Legion. And It was interesting. There was a lot of local artists, local, taxidermists and people with skull jewelry and bone jewelry and little artists and things. And it was interesting. The one at the fairgrounds then is supposed to be, same kind of thing, but bigger, right? With national and international exhibitors and stuff. And my review is it's bigger, it's more commercial, and has way more posers. Like people who are like,
same thing with comic conventions, by the way.
is that right? Is that right?
Yeah,
The local
go to
ones
the
are better.
small ones. Small ones are fun. You go to the big ones, it's full of posers. Yeah.
That makes sense then.
So there's at least some kind of like uniformity across the board,
Yeah. And it was really just an expo. There wasn't, they did have, I guess you could pay like $250 to take a taxidermy class, $250 to take an etymology class, not entomology. That would have been interesting. I would have paid for an entomology class. People that don't know the difference between etymology and entomology, the words can't express how much that bugs me. So we're walking, we've had enough. We're on our way out.
We've had enough.
We've had enough. Yeah, we're leaving. We're just like, let's go this way, and the exit's over there. Let's go. We're done. And then we were walking by this one booth, and there's a Hawaiian shirt with what I thought was pictures of me, and I was like, wait. And
I'm laughing because I've heard part of the story, but yes.
Dude with glasses without glasses. I look closer and I'm like, I don't know who that is, and I pointed out and I'm kind of laughing, and Eli's like, that's Jeffrey Dahmer. I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, oh, haha, I get it. Serial killer on a thing. And my son's just like, it's just weird. I mean, it's like people that's so recent, like people whose family members were killed by this guy might see this, and just thought it was weird. And I was like, yeah, but it's shocking. It's all edge, no point, right? Whoever made this
that's a good way to put it.
You can have shirts made with anything on them you want, right? So I'm like, I'm just going, whoever did this was like, haha, it would be funny to have a serial killer on a Hawaiian shirt, right? Well, that wasn't enough for this person I was with. I'm going to say it like that because he went up to the guy and just said, he said that shirt is just, it's just stupid. And I don't know what all he said. He said something. He gave the guy feedback on his supposed art, right?
Yes.
I kept walking. My wife saw some really cool stuff, and it actually is pretty cool. Some of the stuff this guy has, some more recent stuff, actually is kind of cool. It's like a cowboy, gothic, horror, punk thing, right? And it's kind of cool.
All the stuff that's currently in right now.
Ah, yeah, there you go. So, so probably ripped off of some other idea, right? So I'm standing there waiting, right? Like what I always do when we go to jewelry convention. It doesn't matter what we go to. I wish I were this interested in stuff. I end up standing in the aisleway waiting while my wife checks out every single last piece, right?
Yes.
So while I'm standing there, oh, by the way, the other guy I was with said something to the proprietor and left, like went out the building, right? Because we were leaving. He's like, I'll meet you guys outside, right? So I'm waiting for my wife, and the guy comes up to me, and he's like, hey, that guy you're with said something to me, and if you don't like something, you don't have to say something. You can just keep walking. And I was like, okay, so I'm taking it. You didn't like the feedback you got on your art? And he's like,
the guy was telling you to keep walking, came up to you.
Yeah, I was not in his booth anymore. I wasn't in his space. I was 5-10 feet away from his space, right? Just waiting for Constance to get done. And and then he says this to me, and then I said, well, I mean, if you're gonna make shocking stuff, you might get feedback on it. Sounds like you didn't like the feedback. And he goes, I don't, he does this with his hands. I don't have
Mm.
to cater to your emotions. Immediately, a lot of boxes got checked in my head. I was like,
Yes, yeah. It's funny how it'll just like that box is like a tunnel. It's just a bunch of boxes
yeah,
all lined up in one. It's
yeah.
like a
It's like all
trick
the
shot.
tumblers on the thing lined up right in the vault door open or whatever. All the tumblers fell
That
into
one last
place.
that one last click on the dial.
Yeah, with one line. I don't have
Mhm.
to cater to your emotions. And I said, okay, cool. That's fine. I don't have to cater to your emotions either. And you're an artist, supposedly, who makes
Mm.
shocking stuff. And you're surprised you got feedback and you can't handle the feedback. Is that what you're saying? And then he said it again, but I don't have to cater to your emotions. I'm like, I'm not the one who's emotional here. I'm being pretty calm. You're the one who's getting emotional. About this moment, Constance gets done and walks up to me and she's like, hey, some of those shirts are pretty cool. I might order them later. And I was like, you probably don't want to order from this guy. And then he turns to her, telling her that he doesn't have to cater to her emotions. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, only one person is raising their voice and like yelling. And he's like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
I'm gonna get security. Okay. It's like, if your immediate go-to is to call the cops, feel free. Not sure what you're going to tell them other than somebody said something about your art and then you chased him down to yell at him. I mean, okay. So he runs off. And I'm like, well, you ready? Yeah, we're ready. So we start walking toward the exit. About halfway between his booth and the exit, the two people come walking up. I have no idea who they are. And they just start asking us. I now know who they are, so I'll tell you in a second. But from my perspective, I didn't know who they were. And they just start asking us what's going on. I was like, what do you mean? Well, we hear you're disrupting, you're causing a scene. I was like, no, not that I know of. I'm not causing a scene. And then about that moment, the guy came back and walked up to us.
I mean, look around for crying out loud.
So, yeah, this whole place is a scene. so so the come to find out, at least the one person was the person that runs the show, like is the owner of the
Uh-huh.
show. And the other
Mhm.
person is probably somebody that helps her run the show. I don't know. And get
Mhm.
instead of getting security, went and got mama and daddy and maybe was hoping they would get security. I don't know.
Oh,
Um,
he knew he didn't have a chance with security, so he went and got the proprietor. That's what
yeah,
it boils down to.
yeah,
He didn't have, that logic thing of like, wait a minute, I was they're not going to do anything, so I'm going to get the manager. God,
right.
he got the
He
manager.
got the manager.
He
I'm
wants
gonna
to
get
see
the
the
manager.
manager.
We want to see the manager. Oh man, the manager will be on my side. I'm like, so I just explained. I was like, he heard something he didn't like. He came at me about it. I'm trying to leave. Notice how we're halfway to the door, right? and and now you're saying we're the ones causing the scene. I'm really confused. And I saw the one guy talk to the hot-headed guy and had
Mhm.
him go back to his booth. So I was like, calm down, Sonny, and sent him back to his
Mhm.
booth. And then they go, like I said, I was just like, I cause a scene. I said, the guy doesn't need my advice, wouldn't listen anyway, but I would advise him. And if you're friends with him, you might advise him. If he's going to make shocking art, he may hear feedback on it from time to time. And maybe not getting hot headed about it and coming after people would be a better approach. That's all I'm saying. Obviously, you're not going to tell him that. Doesn't want to hear it from me. I'm just saying that would be good advice for all you little leaguers out there.
I'm still waiting for his TikToks. I haven't seen one yet about that incident because chances are the reason why he ran up on you like that was because he told somebody, here, film this. And it didn't go the way he wanted, so he
Oh,
ain't going to put it out there. Yeah. It's
interesting. I
free
didn't even think
advertising
about
for
that.
him. Yeah. Yeah. Dude, it's the world we live in. Nothing's real.
I didn't even look around to see if anybody was filming it. So,
Probably
th-
was.
so,
And
so
like I
to
said, it didn't go his way.
so to put a wrap on this, it's just the most bizarre interaction because while they're talking to me and they go, well, it's all good. We sent him back to his booth, so everything's good now. I says, good for you, not good for me, but that's okay because I'm leaving. And they're like, And they keep going, well, he said he asked you to leave and you wouldn't leave. I was like, we are literally trying to leave, but you won't let us. I was like, are we free to go? I don't know. What are we being detained?
We're being detained.
Yeah, exactly. So we just spun heel and left. And that was that. But to your point, like immediately we're all jazzed up. You know how you get that adrenaline thing going?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then after it's over, it like settles somewhere. For some people, it's like their chest. For me, it's my stomach. And it's just like, what the hell just happened? So we found him online. I found a YouTube.
Yeah, so did we.
I found a YouTube video of him being interviewed, and all those boxes, all those little tumblers that fell into place in the first 5 seconds turn out to be true. So the best line of the day was, I was saying, like, I think he's terminally online. I don't have to cater you to your emotions. I promise you, he has said that a million times online.
He's got his rap.
Yeah. And he forgot he wasn't online, right? And then the best line was somebody saying, there's more to it. There's like another layer of what was going on there. And it is, he's still mad that girls can play video games. I was like, oh my God, he's right at that age too. It's the Gamergate to serial killer on a Hawaiian shirt pipeline.
He probably hates girls in Star Wars too.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
He hates that X-Men became woke.
Yeah. He calls it the MCU instead of the MCU. You know.
When did Star Trek get woke?
If you really want to know, in 2024. I'm not even a Trekkie, and I know that. Trekkie history. Look it up.
Yeah. All right. So the message, the message is, kids out there, don't come after somebody who's with somebody that made you mad. When the person that made you mad left already, just kind of, let it go. Maybe you'll even make a sale. The best revenge is making a sale to the person they were with.
Yeah.
For all good artists everywhere who can take feedback about their work, including Paul Schultz, I'm Steve Vinson, and nothing you just heard was true.